Technology has always grown alongside video games. As video game consoles grew more advanced and became more and more like personal computers, the implications for game design have also grown. We will take a look at how advances in game technology open up new avenues for game design. Video game graphics have always been the first aspect of video games that people noticed. Originally, systems were reduced to nothing but single-digit bit sizes that did not allow many objects to be displayed. However, bit sizes grew. And eventually, game consoles became more like computers with dedicated graphics cards. This allowed developers to add many visual effects to their games. However, not much can be done in terms of game design with graphics. Developers may venture into lighting and shadows to create situations where the player is forced to use the environment. Physics engines did not exist in a normal sense in the 8-bit era. All physics were calculations sent to a table in the program, telling the object how to act in certain situations.
The first real physics engines that used a simulation model to model Newtonian physics were implemented with 3D environments.
These new physics engines allowed developers more freedom in giving the player a sandbox to play in. Instead of creating a tightly scripted sequence of events, they could allow the player to react dynamically to the situation. This was put to great use in the game Half-Life 2. Developers still have much room to innovate in this area. It has recently made its way to RTS games like Company of Heroes,
and other FPS games such as Crysis.
However advanced AI may get, there is no substitute for a human player when it comes to competition. This is why developers have always been trying to find ways to allow gamers to play together. Originally, this was as much a social experience as a game. The first commercially successful game to implement multiplayer was Super Mario Kart for the SNES. However, the PC gaming community was already a step ahead when developers released a LAN version of the popular FPS Doom. Eventually, developers found a way to allow people to play with each other on the scale of thousands or more. These games are called massively multiplayer online games, or MMOs. The networking of players around the world holds many implications for the game design we have today. Humans make decisions that no programmer can program AI for. This makes the networking of video games extremely important. The controller is an often overlooked aspect of video games. Originally, controllers had joysticks and buttons which were engaging but unwieldy. Nintendo pioneered the gamepad, adding the D-pad and making the controller small. This allowed greater accuracy and movement. Eventually, joysticks received a miniature treatment in the form of a control stick. These miniature joysticks allowed greater range of movement and also allowed a viable scheme for players to control objects in 3D. Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64 was one of the most popular games to implement a joystick. Nintendo innovated the controller once again with the launch of the Wii, a console with a controller that contained gyroscopes and accelerometers that allowed players to simulate motions that have them translate on screen. Similarly, the PS3 has gyroscopes in its controllers that allow simulation of movement. Control schemes are an important part of any video game experience, and with a new wave of motion sensing technologies, developers can create games that turn passive experiences into active ones. As you can see, video games have evolved with technology, and further evolution of technology can only hold more opportunities for game designers.